Everybody, we've got a very international crowd today. We're spanning from all over the place, and thank you very much for joining us. 1400 meeting call to order. Update from our president. Mark, over to you.
Yeah, if I've got a black eye, it's because Dirk just came round and punched me in the eye and told me to get onto this call. I was on another one. I'm sorry, I was a bit late. Nothing much to report, actually. We had a very engaging XCOM meeting, I think, last week. I think that was very, very good. Kuba, I'm sure you'll report on that. As far as where we are on our standard, I think we've agreed, haven't we, at XCOM, that we will go ahead with Alpha Marine, and we await Alpha Marine's initial draft. There was again a good debate within XCOM about the scope and what we're actually trying to achieve, whether we're trying to reinvent the wheel or whether we're trying to actually get an inclusive general principles. And I think let's see what comes from Alpha Marine, and then we will work initially on that and then circulate it for wider comment. With regard to membership, I think the pressure is on all the time now for other managers to quite rightly join us, and for associate members to join us too. Kuba circulated an interview I gave, excuse the blushes, with Sea Trade, and again, you know.
Mark, you are muted.
Yeah, we lost your voice.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know how that happened. Where was I? Sea Trade. Yes, there was an interview with Sea Trade. There's another one coming up with Capital Link tomorrow, where I will use every opportunity I can to spread the word about InterManager and its policies and its strategies, and trying to increase the membership and also introduce the standard. So that's all positive, and I think we will see the trickle develop hopefully into a flood, and I think that is necessary, as we explained on the XCOM meeting, to increase the money in the coffers. And it's quite right that this should be a broad church, all different sizes of managers, but also different sizes of associate members too, and all different types of associate members. We really do have an important voice in this industry, I feel, and I continue to feel. So much for our standard, so much for our membership. On vaccination, I think we have been less active. I certainly haven't been active. Mea culpa, I haven't had time to devote to this recently. There's been a number of things that have been happening internally to us. Kuba, I don't know whether you've managed. We need to focus again our efforts now on the vaccine producers, and I think we have a number of governments now who are willing to assist if we can get vaccine producers to give us vaccines, and then of course we've got to line up the buyers. So getting those three stars aligned is the challenge, but I think on the vaccine front there is general movement in various jurisdictions now with providing vaccines to seafarers. As I mentioned on that seafarers interview, and in various other places too, I think the challenge is that there are a number of crews who just don't want to be vaccinated. And we had, I think, a couple of vessels where the crew did not want to be vaccinated at all, despite vaccinations being offered. And I think that's something that we really do need to address and come up with an answer to, because it is a fact that a third of our crewing pool in next year will not be vaccinated, and will be within their rights not to be vaccinated. How do we operate as ship managers going forward in those circumstances, and how do we encourage crew to be vaccinated, if indeed that's what we should be doing? But that's a discussion I think we should have as a separate discussion, a separate one of these meetings, because it's very interesting. We will have to operate in a strained crewing market with a large number of our seafarers not wanting to be vaccinated, even where those vaccinations are available. So that's all I had. Thank you, Kuba. Thank you all.
Thank you. And I'm smoothly picking up the button when Mark leaves that, which is the vaccination issue. So next meeting in 2 weeks' time is already arranged, and it will be devoted to this particular issue. Vaccination of seafarers, propaganda we need to do. Sorry for the word, but we need to educate. And also, we've got on this call managers who are reporting embarrassingly, then the office staff is refusing to be vaccinated. And this is now causing some problems, because the cargo owners and ship owners require them to be visited by the senior staff. And seafarers are saying, I'm coming, but your office is not vaccinated. So where do we stand? How can I visit your office if you are not prepared for all of this? So that adds a very interesting angle. And this, I hope, will receive some attention from our members. I will be circulating tomorrow questions and getting ourselves ready for the meeting in 2 weeks' time. So the meeting regarding vaccination, seafarers, office staff will have some meat and juice. I have also invited Natalie Shaw from ICS. She will show what ICS is doing with partners. And there is a lot of documentation which I hope to send beforehand. There are films available. Columbia kindly worked on the film together with Steve Bond, and I think this film is now available. I was part of the committee there, and we should have this film available, which should help our members to get seafarers and office staff to understand why it is important. Moving on, obviously I'm always very watchful to get information from other countries, how they are dealing with vaccinating seafarers, and I'm glad to report that there is more and more countries. Some of these countries are now allowing companies to buy vaccinations from them. So let me say that very clearly, the government of country can sell, make it available to the individual companies. And we see this happening. Poland, for example, is not selling, but is allowing shipping companies to apply for on behalf of their seafarers, and those seafarers can be vaccinated. And we can see this happening more and more. So if you don't know about that, I would be surprised. I'm pretty sure your branch office in Poland would definitely report that, but this is going on. And I was talking on this call, we've got Khalil from Oman, and that is what's happening. That's excellent news as well. Countries like Oman are gearing up for that. So that's perfect. Thank you for that. Now, Mark was very modest in saying that this podcast, which he participated, he gave an interview to Sea Trade. It's hitting the social media beautifully. And Mark, thank you for that. I sent you a message. You didn't even say thank you to me. Then I recognize that. So I'm teasing you. But no, it's extremely good interview where Mark is hitting right into the places where a lot of people are talking, but nobody seems to be brave enough to actually call spade a spade. And Mark just did that. I circulated the link. I had a problem actually, but if you go Spotify, you can listen to it. And it's very good. It's extremely good. And I've got a very good feedback from other organizations, associations, thanking Mark for actually raising it. So as far as raising and voicing issues, spot on. Thank you for that. COVID travel situation. That is a very interesting one now. Obviously, we are trying, the whole world is very PC correct, so we are not calling it Indian variant, we call it Delta variant. And we can see countries just going crazy. Poland, for example, is banning people coming from UK. That's very interesting. I don't know whether it filtered down to you. The seafarers who are now disembarking in UK may be treated as coming from UK, therefore they may face different things. This is hot off the press. This just happened 1 hour ago when I heard that. So we need to be careful and obviously explain what the seafarers are, how they are traveling, where do they come from, and what they shouldn't be really affected. And all sorts of vaccination issues are coming into play as well, because countries are now saying that if you haven't got double dose, you are not allowed, or you are allowed, but you have to be quarantining for 7 days, and so on and so forth. As the situation is very dynamic, our industry meeting is happening tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I will be discussing that with partners, which is ICS, Intertanko, Intercargo, WHO, European Commission, as well as usual. So I will report back if there is anything to be reported, but otherwise I'm hearing what you are saying. Now, future of 60-minute meetings. We had a bit of a hiccup there because I was under opinion, and I have to admit that I'm extremely stressed about those 60-minute meetings. If I don't have agenda, if I don't know what are we talking about, then I panic. but I was told not to panic. If the meeting is only even for 5-10 minutes, we just meet, share opinions, and then we go away. But I have to say that after I raised that, we've got agenda now for 2 months, easily for 2 months, and next meeting is already arranged. And as I said, it will be dedicated to the vaccination and education of seafarers. And 4 weeks from now, there will be a meeting about, I just need to let somebody in. It will be a meeting about IMT, Exxon, and vetting changes. I've just been in touch with IMT, and they agreed to come to our meeting, and they will be explaining they will be answering your questions, members who are very interested to watch what's going on with vetting and assurance being passed from Exxon themselves into the subcontracted third party. So we will have IMT with us, and I'm appealing to you, ladies and gentlemen, now to spread the word to your vetting departments and operations departments to participate, and maybe send the questions beforehand to secure your to make sure that nobody is really harming each other, and we can pose questions on your behalf. Mike will be attending on behalf of IMT. So the meetings will go ahead. I've got now requests for another basically four meetings as far as the presentations are concerned, and there is a lot of meat for those meetings. As you can see, members are coming with ideas and questions and comments, so I'm delighted with that.
Can I just add something there, Kuba? And you know, we said this at the XCOM meeting. This shouldn't be the tail that wags the dog. This is just an update, and all communication is good. But if we've got nothing to say, we've got nothing to say. And Kuba certainly shouldn't be stressing. I have to say that I would be completely amazed if every single associate member wouldn't want to put their hands up and say, do you know what, I want to talk about what my company does for 20 minutes, bearing in mind that ship managers are probably the largest purchasers in the sector. And if you're not coming forward and doing that, you've got to ask yourself, why be part of an association? You know, I that's what we want to hear. You know, I certainly am really interested in learning about what our associate membership, what our associate members do and why they're different. And you've got here, if I was an associate member, I would be knocking on Kuba's door. I'd be the first to knock on his door. And we talked about legal firms. Why aren't legal firms? Why aren't accountants firms? Why aren't they all associate members? They should be, because this is the best type of networking possible. So the 20-minute talks, I would be surprised if we weren't being filled up for the next year. But in any event, there's no need to attend these meetings, or indeed have them, if there's nothing to talk about. There always should be something to talk about, but we shouldn't be guided by filling up 60 minutes.
Aye, sir. I hear you loud and clear, and that's good to know as well. Thank you for that. And that brings me, I'm just checking on my left hand side my notes. I think that's my 10 minutes. Any other questions, any comments? Because I have touched on vaccination, and I warned you that there will be a meeting in 2 weeks' time. Is there any pending issue you would like to raise? I can also add that the idea of checking how many people were positive on traveling to the ship, and we started with that, this, thanks God, did not materialize in increasing numbers. So there was no point going again and checking, because you were reporting to me that there is no hike, there is no increase in seafarers' numbers. Therefore, we backed off from that. So I'm just pausing for a second, watching for the yellow hands. Yes, we've got Rajesh. Please go ahead.
Hi, Kuba. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Rajesh Dagwal from Campbell Shipping in Bahamas. Kuba, I just wanted to get a little update on one of the issues that we have raised in the last meeting was regarding the availability of interviews for the American, US visas, and even the Schengen visas as well. Especially for the crew coming out of India, these consulates are literally shut. We have got, notification from the website that yes, we are shut for this time. And we just wanted to make sure that that InterManager takes this up with the US authorities, which you mentioned that we have a good working relationship, that at least they know proactively the challenges that we are all working around, and we don't face any penalties or guards, cost and things like that. That there was a consideration towards that as well.
Indeed. No, I'm sorry, because it was 3 weeks ago and I've forgotten probably to report. Yes, immediately after our meeting, I went down to have a chat with our IMO representative and US representative, and he passed this on. And there was a discussion among ourselves in our Thursday meetings. When I say ours, I mean the partners in shipping industry, and they were all on the same page as you reported. It's not only you who is having an issue. Everybody who is using, sorry, the word, Indian seafarers and Filipino are facing the same issues. So Americans are very well aware of that. Now, what we really wanted is US Coast Guard, those and immigration officers, those who are on the front line and are deciding on what to do with this information, to show some flexibility. And I have to admit that I have not seen any written report from them. Let me just get back to you tomorrow after our meeting tomorrow and see whether we get any mileage with those who are actually responsible at the front lines. Would that be okay with you, Rajesh?
Yes, that'll be nice. And any form of communication with the US Coast Guard would be, sorry, the US Custom and Border Protection would be good to have that.
But are you seeing any escalation now? Are you seeing, pains on border, or is it not filtering down to that yet?
No, we haven't seen as issue. We just had a 2 US port call over the last 1 month. We didn't have an issue. We had actually some people without visas, but in US every state has its own take on certain things. But I think this is something, I think somewhere down the line some people or some members would likely face this because somebody will take that stance.
Absolutely. No, everybody's facing it. So well established and well acknowledged. Thank you. And I'll get back to you indeed in this particular matter to all of our members.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anything else?
Can I raise an issue? Shore leave. I'd be interested. We're having a debate internally what we do about shore leave, and that's linked with vaccination, and that's linked with also crews sometimes unwillingness to be vaccinated. What of the other managers on the call, what's the general view? Ours is that it's too early to permit shore leave unless all of the vessel's crew is vaccinated. And anyway, even if they are, unless you're in a jurisdiction where the numbers are sufficiently low to be considered safe, the situation is simply too fluid at the moment to endanger the crew and our clients by permitting shore leave. But if other people have got other views, I'd be interested to hear, because it's a really thorny question, and we're certainly being approached by crew saying, come on, we're vaccinated now, albeit that not all of the vessel is vaccinated. We want to go ashore, and it's a safe place to go ashore. So what's the if anyone's got any view on that, that's certainly where we seem to be landing.
Very good, Mark. Okay, I didn't know it is an issue. The issue we are seeing from the other end is that port authorities in UK were reporting to us, to me, why are you telling crews not to go ashore in UK? They were very disappointed with us. Only came yesterday on a discussion because they said that crews are telling the authorities that master tells them that there is a ban for Filipino and Ukrainian officers to go ashore. And the British government said, well, through contacts, that's not true. There is no ban. Anybody in UK can go ashore. They have no problem with it unless you are arriving from the red country, blah, 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 but red listed country. and those countries were not red listed. Therefore, if you are from orange, as long as you follow the COVID regulations, there is no requirement, blah. So maybe it is that masters are actually under the recommendations, rules, regulations of the company, and they just
most companies will have a ban on shore leave at the moment, and of course it is becoming a massive issue where certain crew members have taken up the opportunity to be vaccinated, and they say, come on, this is not fair, we want to go ashore. And of course there are existing crew members on board that haven't been vaccinated, and those that have can still bring COVID back on board. So you know, and we've all had situations where vessels have been stopped because of outbreaks of COVID. So I'd just be interested to see what the view is, because this is a really big issue that's blowing up now, where crew have been, they see perhaps as being trapped on board for a long period of time now.
Excellent. Okay, I've got it. That's my homework now. Okay, thank you for that. And not seeing.
If I may comment on this, this is Khalil from Oman. On Mark's point, well, I'm not a doctor, but what we hear is that even if you're vaccinated, you could be carrying the virus. So the danger is there that the crew member who goes ashore, even if he is vaccinated, 2 jabs or whatever it is, he could be carrying it to those who didn't have it. So probably we need to be careful from that front. But
that's exactly the point. You hit the nail on the head. It's they of course may be safe themselves, but they will be coming back and endangering their colleagues, and that's the argument we're clearly using at the moment. And query whether the situation will ever change. We've got to come to a position where, if you take my comment earlier on, there will always be some crew members on board a vessel who are not vaccinated, and there will always be a risk of shore leavers bringing it back on board, even if they are vaccinated. And how do we, position do we take as an organization? Because Kuba, coming back to your propaganda, I would hope that in our discussion in 2 weeks' time, whenever it is, that InterManager takes a position on this. You know, we're worth nothing unless we take a position on something and use our position to our voice to start to educate the market now, and educate our customers that you're never going to have fully vaccinated ship. You can't actually bring that about with the limited number of seafarers we've got, and you can't force people to be vaccinated once you've already employed them.
I've got 2 hands up, Björn and then Karsten. Björn, please.
Yeah, I have 2 questions, because following up with this market, if that is correct, that this will go on for a while and we will not have everybody vaccinated, I mean, you really have 2 choices, don't you? Either you basically shut down the shore leave indefinitely for all the crew, or you let people go ashore. I mean, you know, it's there's no middle road anyway, is there? And secondly, if you let the crew sign on the ship, can you legally then refuse them to go ashore?
So probably we don't have answers to that, but that's good to have those questions, and let me work on them. There is a very committee meeting tomorrow, and I'll represent those questions and come back. The committee consists also of WHO doctors available on that, so we'll see what they say and what the authorities' position is. I only mentioned that position of UK authorities yesterday was amazing to me. You know, they were not happy for us to stop people going ashore. And interestingly enough, in US, allegedly, I would need to double check that, position is very much the same as UK. You can go ashore, which amazes me, because in good times we were not allowed to go ashore, and all of a sudden US says, yeah, you can come along, no problem. And Karsten, please.
Yeah, hi. Actually, the second question, which Björn Japsen has just posted, is also interesting, because we had 2 crew members actually who came forward and said, are you legally allowed actually to refuse shore leave for me? And I think this is one question we have to answer as well.
Yeah, I've got it on my list. I'm sorry I can't provide answers immediately, because I've got no mandate, I've got no knowledge either, but it's good to know that these are the questions that we need to look into. So I'll definitely take them with me.
I have to comment, sorry on this one, because we had a strong drive not long ago to not let shore people, terminal people to come on board because we are scared about, in the safety of our crew. And we started all this remote auditing and remote inspection and all that. All of a sudden we are saying, okay, our own crew can go ashore and have the risk of bringing it. So it's very much completely the opposite side just a couple of months ago. Yeah.
But I think we all appreciate that the situation is extremely dynamic, and what posed the problem a few months ago, and now we are facing completely different ones. So that's where we are with that. Okay, seeing no further hands, thank you. I will move to item 4, which is Ocean Guardian. And Alex, over to you.
Thank you very much. And don't you know that just as we were wrapping this up and handing it over to me, our electricity flickered, our power flickered. So thankfully I'm on my laptop and we should be good to go. But thanks for the opportunity to present this. Let me just share my screen a second. And what I'd like to ask as I start this is to please let this be a conversation, not just a presentation. I do so much better with conversations than presentations. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I was back up here. One moment. And can you see my screen?
I do indeed.
Yes.
Super. Thank you. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and present this product here. Before I do, just as a quick intro. So Total Marine Solutions is a company that I started 20 years ago. And our core business is to represent equipment manufacturers of MARPOL compliant systems. So oily water separators, sewage treatment systems, food waste digesters. And back in 2017, we took a plunge and created a digital solution, which takes environmental regulations from around the globe, digitizes them, and presents a means of simplifying environmental compliance, environmental operations on board your vessels. So this product is called Ocean Guardian. We have 4,800 active environmental regulations from around the globe in 337 countries. We also have regulations specific to special areas, marine sanctuaries, ECAs, PSSAs, and we have over 3,000 ports, and of those, 1,857 have ports with rule assigned. So I'm just going to go through this, but again, if there's any questions as we go along, what we do is we have a team that maintains a database of international, national, regional, and port regulations. We call those global regulations, but our clients can also put up there and maintain and deploy their environmental policies, which very often are above and beyond the global regulations in these 4 areas. And all of this can be maintained and deployed through this Ocean Guardian portal. And what we do is we take regulations, we give them a digital file, if you will. They each receive a unique identifier, the rule name. We pull from the document. Everything in Ocean Guardian has to have a related attachment. And we pull that excerpt that speaks to dischargeability or environmental use here. Their deployment statuses, rule profiles as far as what type of vessels they pertain to, if there's a tonnage specification, if there's a flag, specific flag notation, and then we assign it to geographic locations within the system. And when we do that, the vessels can actually see, based on where they are, we have AIS feeds coming into the system. So this is the El Segundo Voyager. She's underway. She's off the coast of Malaysia. Based on her course, based on her speed over ground, this is the areas that she's approaching with the distance and ETA, again, based on her course. And these are the regulations that apply in this specific location. And because we have the rules, the attachments, we can actually, this is the rule that's specific, driving that no discharge performance. Everything has an attachment related to it. So the crew on board can see exactly where this guidance is coming from. If there's ever a question based on what they see, they can put a note here and submit that to us. and this comes across to our team for review, research, and response. Okay. And again, this applies to all type of the simplified categories of the categories of environmental compliance. We also take and automatically file against specific ports. So if a client is looking and building a new itinerary, they can look up through the 3,000 ports that we have in Ocean Guardian and see the regulations that apply to those ports. There's also an opportunity to put port attachment that may not be environmental operations attachment or regulations, but attachments for that specific ports. So requirements for inbound and outbound reporting can be put right against the port as well. There's an opportunity to click right up here and go to that port on our map. And of course, this is not a chart, this is a map, and see the regulations as relate and get an idea as to the other ports in proximity when it comes to that specific area. There's a very advanced search functionality because again, sorting through, I'm just going to clear this a second, the 4,800. If your vessel's coming into the US and you want to see which of the VGP regulations there are here, you can actually just click on those active deployed rules related to the VGP, and you can see the 196 regulations that apply, and that's according to that program. And of course, once the VITA comes into place, replacing the VGP, all of these will be deactivated with the VITA regulations deployed to the clients. There's a lot of focus, understandably, today on exhaust gas cleaning systems, and there's an organization which I'm sure you're familiar with, which is the Clean Shipping Alliance. So in this area, we've actually taken the environmental regulations globally and applied them based on closed loop scrubber bans, EGCS rules. For those that have open loop scrubbers, it's very, very important, of course, to stay abreast of all of the regulations, which when it comes to this specific environmental waste management side, these rules change so frequently. Ports also come out, as Mexico does, and says you cannot you cannot use your scrubber in this port, but there's no regulation stating such, but the port agents are coming forward with these recommendations. So we do our very, very best, our team here, to stay abreast of all this. And one of the things that is important to note with our database that we maintain, none of these rules are deployed before they're vetted by a third-party law firm. So we engage and have under contract a third-party, a maritime law firm based here in Washington, D.C., but they are global. So they vet every single regulation before we just deploy it out to our users. So I'm just going to unshare my screen here a second because I want to pull up one other document, if I may. And can I ask, are there any questions thus far or comments? Okay. So what I just showed you is what we call our portal, and that is a web-based platform that's used by our clients not only to stay abreast of the regulations, but also for those that are using it to maintain and deploy theirs to their vessels. But there's basically 5 use cases for Ocean Guardian. What I just showed you was digitizing and management using the administration portal, managing the fleet operations. So I remember back in the day when we could visit our clients, and it was always very impressive to walk into the lobbies and see the big screen TVs with the points of where all your ships were. So that's our means of fleet environmental operations, being able to display that on your screens as well, and know exactly for your environmental ops departments what's in place in case they ever get a call from one of your vessels. We also have a Windows-based application, which is a shipboard server client installation, which is updated continually through this administrative portal. So this allows for those on board, especially the navigation officers, in planning the voyages and communicating with the engine control rooms. Yes, we are outside of 3 nautical miles, 12 nautical miles. Discharge of these certain waste streams can start taking place. We're integrating with environmental equipment. One of our clients on 30 of their vessels ties the server of Ocean Guardian to the not the last, but internal valve for treated bilge water, and only when the vessel is in an area where Ocean Guardian says that it is permitted, they're able to discharge that treated bilge water. And lastly, we have APIs available for a number of applications. So it's environmental aider for voyage planning software. So we're integrated with 2 voyage planning software providers today, representing about 340 vessels. So just like you have the tidal overlay, the weather overlay in your voyage planning software, you also have the means of an environmental overlay that could be provided by a software such as Ocean Guardian. So it's a number of ways of utilizing the database that we're maintaining here. So I'd like to open it up to any questions, because one of the things that we really stress in presenting Ocean Guardian is a collaborative platform. So we work with a number of organizations and our associate members, not just with InterManager, but Chamber of Shipping of America, you know, and really ensuring that we share what we're doing with the members, and to get their feedback on the platform and input if they're operating in areas of interest. So one example, we had a phone call very unexpectedly from the Chilean Maritime Association. So they were asking questions on some bilge water equipment that we sell and support. And we mentioned Ocean Guardian to them. And they said if they have any questions down from that region of the world, to just feel free to reach out and contact them, and they would be able to help us. So I'd love to open it up for questions and comments. Kuba?
Alex, yes, I've got 2 immediately. First of all, I'm just puzzled. Your team, first of all, how big is your team? But also, is your team located globally, or are you using your American stuff and then you plug into the locals? Because that's, you know, I remember, okay, on much more smaller scale, but being operations, we struggled with the local information. You know, our network wasn't big enough for that. So over to you.
Yes, so our team is based here in Fort Lauderdale, our specific team. We have a team of 3 people that are dedicated, just related to maintaining and continually developing our global database. That being said, we do have, on the legacy part of our business, the equipment sales and service, we have not representatives, partners, agents, if you will, in different regions of the world that we tap into, because they too are helping to sell and market Ocean Guardian. So when we also look at our network, so we had questions on areas of Ghana. So I tap into my WISTA network and reach out to folks within that as well. So we are continually casting our net wide and far whenever we have questions, whenever we need translation services, because there are times that we find environmental regulations that haven't been translated as yet to English. So we reach out to our network to help with that. And then with the maritime law firm that we are engaged with, we pose a lot of questions to them, and we utilize their services when it comes to the guidance of it as well.
And that preempts my question, because I was wondering if we do have an issue somewhere, and it's an interpretation issue very often, can you provide some sort of assistance when we need to reach out to someone who is local and can act? As you said, you know, there is a Mexican government, saying one thing, but the local agents or local authorities are saying something different, and we are caught in between, and we need sometimes to have some backup. So
Absolutely.
if I call Alex, I've got an issue, are you able to step in and say, this is Dirk's telephone number, give him a shout, he will step in immediately?
Absolutely, absolutely. It'd be our pleasure, and we do that with a number of our clients today.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? I'm just checking floor.
Yes.
Alex, If I jump in, how expensive? How do you charge for this? I mean, this service. Are you charging? You may have mentioned it. I had to pop to the heads, but you may have mentioned it then. Is it per vessel, or is it per? Is it a license fee per month per fleet, or how do you charge?
It's a license. So when we talk about the standalone system, which is the platform plus the shipboard client server, it is per vessel, but there is a tiered approach to that pricing. So it's a license fee per vessel per year. Okay. When it's an integrated environmental overlay into the voyage planning part, that then becomes the voyage planning provider's pricing structure, and that too is per vessel. And just like with some of the other environment or options, if you will, within that voyage planning software, it's an add-on to what the ship or the operator is currently paying.
So just give us a feel, if you don't mind, per vessel. What are we talking?
We're talking when it comes into the size of a mid-size fleet of, let's say, 25 to 50 ships. It's about $5,000 a year per ship for that type of fleet. And then onboard the ships, and that's the standalone version. That's the standalone version. When it talks about an environmental overlay, the average price out there, list price, is under $1,000 for that environmental overlay. And that's used both in voyage planning and, real-time environmental operations.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Khalil?
Yes, quickly, Alex, on is your service, what is the question the right way? Legal position of the service, is it just advisory, or what if you are saying, okay, you cannot discharge here, and then, or the vice versa? How have you faced this?
We have, we faced it, and that's why we do engage a maritime law firm that specializes in environmental compliance to vet our database. So when it's deployed, it really is, as the start of your question was, it's guidance. And we when it comes to, we're very often asked the question, how complete is your database? And we have no idea how complete it is, because there's no global list of environmental regulations around the world to reconcile it against. But we illustrate the continual development of it. We deploy on average 60 to 70 rules every 2 weeks. And of course, those are primarily national and regional and port regulations that change frequently. So our database is one of the deepest. And again, with that vetting by a third-party law firm, we have the confidence that it is maintained and offers the best guidance from an environmental side.
So I was wondering whether to go to a P&I or how does it work in cases of trouble, let's say?
Right.
So that's why it can.
Yeah, it is guidance, but of course, it's always the ship's responsibility from the operational standpoint as to how they took that guidance and then perform the operations ultimately.
And Alex, I've got a question. So do you run a network of your users, basically? Do you get feedback from your users and then they come across something which they feed back to you, then you verify that, for example? Is it some sort of a crowd-driven?
It's not necessarily crowd-driven, but it is encouraged, and we do have a module on the portal where where clients can put in a rule proposal. And even at that state, it requires some kind of documentation, even if it's just an email from a port agent, that we will then go and research and dig through and get it created, verified, and vetted and deployed. Because with this portal, in addition to our team, our administrators being able to deploy at any time, we do it every 2 weeks just to make it efficient and not hit our clients all the time with these notices of new rules. But our clients as well, again, can utilize the portal to put in their company policies or exceptions and get them deployed to their ships right away. And with that, you have an audit trail. So you move away from binders and emails and, that pretty good 75%, 80% assurance that everybody has the latest and greatest and have put the latest in place so that their reliefs have that in place. But with the portal, you have an audit trail on everything that's developed from the time it's created to every time it's changed. It's timestamped with what that change was. So in our age of digitalization, it's just one further means of putting the tools into the hands of those on board your ships that are responsible for making things happen and keeping things into compliance. And this is just one more tool that we wanted to take this opportunity during what I call these tech talks at the InterManager meetings to show what else is on the market.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
One last thing, if I may. April, May of last year, when everything started to shut down and the pandemic was really hitting us hard, we made the portal available to our clients and prospective clients free of charge, and that's still in place. So if anybody would like access to it or to encourage anyone within your organization to get in and take a look and really explore it, please just send me an email and I'd be happy to get them set up. And again, we'll ping them and just get their feedback on it, but we'll offer it for a minimum of 3 months just to let everybody see what's out there.
Excellent. Okay, let me scan this floor and see whether we've got any further questions. No, I don't see any hands up. Alex, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you
Very much.
And everyone.
Impressive. Okay, now any other business? I'm opening the floor. Is there anything we should be aware I should take as a homework and run with it? Yes, Khalil, go ahead.
Yeah, for Kuba, just for the next meeting on vaccines and all that. So, and we were talking about, do we have the right for the shore leave or not? I go also beyond if we can address it next meeting with some expert about whether we can employ people on board who are not vaccinated or not. I know the number of seafarers not vaccinated is really high still, but if we come to a situation, is it constitute as, I don't know, illegal discrimination, or what is it if we don't take people who are refusing to vaccinate?
Okay, absolutely. I'm just typing it for myself. Okay.
I think our view, Khalil, that's a very good question. Our view is that you can require your seafarers to be inoculated, vaccinated, whatever you want. What you can't do is force them once they're on board, once you've got them employed, to then. But that's something that can be looked at in greater detail. But that's our preliminary view from our research.
And thanks to Mark, obviously, we've got, even on this call, we do have a potential new member, associate member, the legal firm, and I will be reaching out to the legal shipping companies to see whether they have come across this question and what was their advice. So we can see, because I bet there will be some who will be different opinions. Rajesh, you've got a hand up. Go for it.
Yes, thanks, Cuba. No, I just wanted to touch base upon the important aspect which Khalil brought up, and Mark gave an insight. Mark, you are from a legal background, if I understand. That's something, the company can always have, in beyond STCW requirements or the oil majors requirement, the company can have their own requirement, because managing the risk is also one of the company's governance structure. So I think the company can make, so I think that's clear. And also, I would assume from the fact that worldwide, there is a recommendation, to take vaccination. And if someone doesn't follow that recommendation, it's kind of, and a persistent recommendation from WHO, from government authorities, from every industry bodies to get vaccinated. And if you decide not to do that, then you are being negligent as well, isn't it? So I think I think everybody is scared to bring it out on a piece of paper. Although people may in their practical decision making may not do that, but I think everybody is kind of skeptical of any backlash of putting it in a black and white as a policy. So I think the next step would be to have a legal review as to whether that can be printed on a document or not.
So Rajesh, obviously we do have a document which was prepared by members of InterManager as a partners, and ICS issued this document. I can dig it out, but I believe, and your voice is extremely important voice in this discussion, and at the moment, this document says that no, the companies cannot legally force anybody to. But having said that, as you mentioned, there is a different angle. You are not forcing, you are just setting up the requirements and regulations, and it's the choice of people joining. Either they want to join on your terms or they don't. And I think that's the latest I'm hearing all the time. But thanks for that. I will definitely get prepared and have more ammunition in my availability for me for the next meeting. And obviously I will also make sure that whoever is available for this meeting is prepared for that. So I am encouraging, I will be sending message, so don't get fed up with me then I'm reiterating the same issue. But obviously we've got only limited number of people on this call, and we've got hundreds who are not, and I need to reach out to them. So I will be asking this question and getting them ready for, there might be even more questions than just from our committee here. Björn, I see your hand. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned that document that I think was done by ICS, I don't know, 2 months ago. I think that's quite a good summary, and I think would answer a number of these questions. So it might be a good thing to distribute before the next meeting.
I will do that again. It's available on our website, but I will definitely send it again. And it was prepared by our members as well. You guys were consulted, and some of your comments were very interesting, and they had to change this document. It was the industry document led by ICS indeed.
What I don't quite understand is this, for years and years, we have had requirements to take other types of vaccines, whether it's yellow fever or whatever, right? And we all do this, and we all used to have a little yellow book and we travel around the world, no question, right? And somehow this is different. I don't quite sure what I mean. I understand it's early days, etc. But still, I mean, how can we? I mean, I think the trick here is to get around that sort of mindset that because try to make this as just like any other vaccine that we've taken, and because this thing is not going to go away, right? So unless we get more and more people vaccinated, it's going to be a tremendous problem for indefinite future, right? So, I mean, it's really a big challenge.
Yeah, because I think we used to be the only seafarers who travel with a yellow book, or whoever needed to travel. But all of a sudden, COVID is reaching everyone, and now everyone is voicing their opinions. And that's
but you get vaccines for measles and smallpox and all this other crap that you take as kids, right? And that, I mean, there are people that refuse that as well. But thank God, it's a fairly small number, right? So we do get that immunity that we need as a community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cuba, I want to just finish off. I understand the ICS document. ICS document makes reference to the point which we all know, that it's again a recommendation, and we know legally we cannot force anyone to take the vaccination. But I think the point, and I think if I understand Khalen's dilemma, which is pretty much being discussed here as well. Put it very bluntly, if one of the managers comes out with a policy that we will hire only people with a vaccination, and mind you, the cruise industry is already demanding that. It's already there, Khalen. They are already there. So does it go above the InterManager ethos?
Okay, no, I wouldn't have answered to that at the moment. So I think this discussion is important. And as Mark pointed out, it would be very good in 2 weeks' time, then we are mature enough to make a decision among ourselves. And either people sign up to it and say, yep, that's what I want to do. Or people will, as always in democratic world, say, oh, with all due respect, no. But at least that would be our position. Now, approaching 3 o'clock, I would like to summarize our discussions and everything and hand over to Mark. Mark, over to you.
No, very. Thank you all. A very interesting debate. It's something that's been in the back of my mind during this. Every time we talk about the Delta variant, and excuse the reference to the Indian variant beforehand, everyone was very happy to call the initial variant the English variant or the UK variant, and it probably serves to illustrate the point that this whole thing, and it goes to Bjorn's comment. The whole COVID story is becoming politicized. And you know, we have Eastern European officers that refuse to take the American vaccine, and equally when Sputnik is offered to us, we equally scoff at that. So it is politicized, it is febrile, and as soon as that dies down and we get more used to living with COVID, I think it will cease to be an issue. But I think that's going to be a number of years away. So I think it's good to have these discussions, and you know, we do need to prepare our clients and the shipping sector for a situation, a very uncertain, fluid situation for a long time to come. I think that should perhaps be our sole objective here, to actually to introduce this debate. It's not as easy as, are there vaccines for the crew members or not? Because we have all sorts of other issues flowing around, and maybe we're the right people because we have the greatest visibility to bring that sort of discussion to the fore. So if it takes more than 60 minutes, the next meeting, it should take more than 60 minutes, and we should have a good debate. But thank you all for that. I think that's been a really good 60 minutes, Cuban. We could probably go on for a lot longer today.
And here comes the guillotine then. Thank you very much, everyone, and I will see you soon. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.